Chris here again. Thanks for joining me on part 2. Part 1 we went over briefly peas and beans, a little bit of how you can structure your garden, lumber material wise, and as well as some stepping stone ideas. This part 2 we're going to go over some tomatoes, lettuce, radish, carrots, peppers, onions, and broccoli. A bunch of different ways to transplant. So these first ones I was talking about here are surrounded by these metal trellises. At first, when I first planted them, I had a wall of water surrounding them just to protect them from the colder nights. But now that they're bigger, I replaced them with these metal trellises so they continue on growing upwards. When it comes to all the greens you see here, they were all transplanted from my local nursery. I was busy constructing my garden, weeding out this area, getting ready for the season, did not have time to germinate my seeds, so I kind of cheated and I did it this way. But when it comes to roots, I will come back to referring to my pots. You will have to scoop aside the dirt and varying the amount of roots that come along with your plant. Make a hole 3 or so inches deep, 3 inches across in diameter. Enough to just set the roots in there. Not too deep, just deep enough to cover them back up with the dirt. Every time you transplant a seed, you should give it a little watering. Helps it give it a little boost to its new environment. If you would like to go the extra mile, you could get some Miracle-Gro Quick Start. It is a liquid fertilizer that you will have to dilute with water, but it's good for introducing plants to the new environment, the new soil, and help them from going into shock. So that is how you transplant halfway grown plants, I suppose. In the center plot here, I have radish and carrots. They're both similar in the methods of growing, so I went ahead, combined the seeds, and planted them together in the rows. Radish, they take 22 days to mature, and carrots take 66 days. So by the time the radish have grown, the carrot seeds have been spread out, and so when you pick the radishes, that empty space in between gives the adequate amount of room for the carrots to grow in. And 2 weeks into the 3-week period of radishes, you can go ahead, plant a row or 2 more, and that will allow you multiple harvests in a short season. So you'll be eating your first radishes by the time your second ones are ready to pick. A couple lettuces here. The middle row is a butter crunch. They're more of a romaine, crunchy type of lettuce, and the ones below them are a butter bib. They're a kind of more of a spinach and romaine mix. They're growing nice and big. They started off kind of slow, but just let them grow, do the thing. I kind of like to trim off leaves similar to this one as they start to die. I'm not sure, it might allow the plant to focus on the other parts, focus on them and let them grow. This plot's next to them, I have 3 broccoli plants growing. And in between each lettuce, I actually reverse even further, back to these. The depth on these are about a 1/2 inch for both of them. So you just build a trench and evenly disperse the seeds throughout the trench, trying not to make it too dense, else that will cause for really slim, long carrots and oblong radishes. So give them just enough room to grow. These were about 8 inches apart. They'll grow out to be big old bushy heads of lettuce. This season is pretty much a trial and error. I'll figure out how much space I have in between after this year, and I'll be able to fill in those spaces to maybe even double my yield of produce next season. Back to the broccoli, I gave these about 18 inches apart. 12 to 18 is recommended, so if I need to next year, I'll just move them closer and plant more in a smaller space. Above them here are 2 peppers. The top row is an early bird, it's a red pepper, and the one below it is a yellow bella. They're both sweet peppers. They prefer really hot, really sunny spots, so I have them out in the sun for most part of the day. And all these, if you're going to transplant them, acclimate them, so take them outside for a couple hours during the day and then take them into a garage or a fairly warm indoor area. Repeat that for a couple days, just get them used to the temperature, and it should reassure you that your plants won't go into shock. This little line of crop here are my onions. You can already smell the pungent smell. They have bulbs already forming. There's Walla Walla and red onions. There's little ants digging throughout them. I'm not really worried that they're going to be eating the onions, although I have this insect it's like a sawdust, and you spread that around the borders. They'll take that into their tunnels and infect all the other ants and hopefully get rid of the infestation. We'll see how that goes. And that is pretty much this lower plot all rounded up, and also part 2 of the segment. I'll go ahead and continue on to part 3 if you'd like to join me on that one. That'll be going over some cucumbers, spinach, potatoes, and a couple different herbs, as well as a couple other tips.